Yes, it's another edition of Matters Arising on BCOS television, Ilya Kederita Bashon, in the city of Ibadan. And of course, Matters Arising, like you know, has to do with us treating stories, topics that is affecting Nigerians in general, government, talking about politics, talking about the economy, talking about insecurity, talking about all other issues, agricultural sector, and all other issues. And of course, you know that always we invite guests, panelists, eminent panelists that knows their onions about any particular topic that we pick. Yes, today we are talking about education, the education sector. And this sector, this particular subsector is of main concern, is now being of main concern to people, to some, members of the public, and to some advocates of this particular subsector of the education sector. That is talking about the illiterate population. Yes, education of the illiterate. Yes. This topic today has to do with education under siege, and the main topic is tackling Nigeria's 56 to 60 million illiterate population. Well, I'll just throw that open to the ground. I have in the house today, yes, the Acting Director, Center for Literacy Training and Development for Africa, CLTDA, University of Ibadan. And he's Dr. Shola Omorigi. You're very much welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you, moderator.
Yes, and of course, an adult education advocate. He is one of the ones, along with some other people, trying to fight for, how to tackle illiterate education within the population. David Ojebola, you're also welcome.
Thank you very much, moderator.
Yes, Bimba Kombi is my name, and of course, like I said, I'll go through some excerpts, some write-ups here with me, and it has to do with the between 56 to 60 million illiterate population. Let me go through the write-up first here and now. Yes, it says that Nigeria has indeed had a significant illiteracy challenge, with estimates suggesting around 56 million adults who are illiterate, accounting for approximately 31% of the population. This issue is more pronounced in northern Nigeria, where cultural barriers, poverty, and insecurity exacerbate the problem. And the National Mass Education Commission, NMEC, confirms this figure, highlighting the need for urgent attention to address the country's literacy crisis. And literacy and civic participation, economic growth, and social development, making it a pressing concern for Nigeria's future. And the Federal Executive Council just recently, approved 4 key memos in the education sector, including the restoration of the National Commission for Mass Literacy, Adult and Non-Formal Education as an independent body. Yes, a 6-year moratorium on new tertiary institutions and reforms to recognize medical fellowships as PhD equivalents. And, it was during a briefing by President Bola Tinubu, and he highlighted the revival of the commission, which had been downgraded to a unit in the ministry earlier in the administration. And he spoke on and on. The Minister for Education, Alausa, Mr. President, said he emphasized the urgency amid Nigeria's literacy crisis. Noting today we have about 56 million Nigerians that are illiterate. Yes, it goes on and on and on and on. Well, let me first start with them. Yes, let me throw the first question open. How did they come about the 56 to 60 million Nigerians, adults illiterate? Yes, how did the government come about that? what was the basis of that research and how the figure came out?
Thank you, moderator. It was just last week, I think about Tuesday last week at the National Council meeting, that the Minister of Education came out to give that figure. For us in adult education, illiteracy is hardly used for people who are not in school or who are in school who have not acquired the skill of literacy. There are 4 categories of people who suffer from one form of illiteracy or the other. The first, people who are in school, who are struggling and making effort to acquire the skills of literacy. The second category, it's out of school. And this out of school, we have children who are not in school, and we have adults and youths who left school early. Of course, the third and the fourth, it's what we deal with in adult education and our center. So we have over 22 million children who are out of school.
Yes.
So the calculation of 56 or about 56 will be definitely on adults and youth who are not in school, who left school early and they have not found themselves their way back to school. So it's like that. How did they come about the figure? Well, there are statistics that support it, and I'm happy that the Commission NMEC had agreed that they will be up to that. The figures say there are 22 million children who are out of school, but here we are dealing with youth and adults who left school early and they are not back in school, and they don't have the requisite, the skill for, which is the basic literacy skill of reading, writing, and counting. So that is how they came about it. Maybe as we go on, I will throw more light on that, because there have been an effort. The government has agencies that are supposed to take care of those group of people. And I am from the Department of Adult Education. Of course, now I am an acting director of literacy training and development program for Africa. Okay. So, but majorly, we are concerned with people who are not, who don't even have basic skills to function, in communities and organizations. But the minister will be concerned about adults. That is why we have it with which means that we'll be looking at about 34,000 adults and youths who don't have basic literacy skills of
Okay.
reading, writing, and counting.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, yes, before I come back to you, yes, you can check us out on Facebook. Yes, facebook.com/BCOS TV, and of course, YouTube. You can check us out there too, BCOS TV YouTube channel. And yes, you can watch us also TV online, live, Star Times channel 113, Go TV channel 134, and terrestrial channel 28 UHF. And well, live stream on facebook.com/BCOS TV. Now, David Ojabola, like he made some points there, and some categorical figures.
Yeah.
Yes. So how do you see these figures?
Yeah. Thank you, moderator. In fact, the figures released by the Minister of Education, the total figure of 56 million, as the number of the illiterates that we have in Nigeria is actually, I can say this is actually correct, because before the minister can come out and declare such a figure, I want to believe that there will have been a consortium of knowledge, discussion and research work between the NMEC, that is the Mass Literacy Agency, and the Ministry of Education. Based on the fact of the first speaker, we have the 22 million population of the children who don't have access to education. Then we are now looking at the youths and the adults. Absolutely, if you go around the communities, because I'm a community advocate for adult literacy, around communities, you will see by yourself that people found it difficult to read, they found it difficult to write. If you go to banking sectors, you find people find it difficult to fill one or two forms or the other.
And you have to come with
one person. Mm-hmm. So if you now look at those factors, we coupled with the research done, we can partially agree with that figure. Sincerely, the issue of illiteracy is what we need to look into. Aside from the government angle, the individuals in the community have to look at what can I do regarding illiteracy. Last week, I was in Niger State, and for a researcher, because we are looking at how can we do more in our own organization, CEDA Learning Center. So how can we do more? And lo and behold, in the evening time, you see a lot of these children out of schools coming around in the evening with small, small plates in their hands, in hundreds, in different locations. So if looking at what we can see on ground in Niger State alone, just one community in Mina alone, then not to talk of other states and other communities across Nigeria. So we can partially agree with that figure. But the truth of the matter is that there is illiteracy on ground. We cannot hide our face. 22 children out of schools. Why are they out of schools? 22 million children out of school. Why are they out of schools? That should be the question. And what will be the solution? Whether 56 million or whatsoever, the fact remains that there is illiteracy in Nigeria.
Yes.
And we, as advocates for adult literacy, institutions, community leaders, government, everybody have a role to play to solve this problem.
Yes,
you
mentioned something now. You mentioned that why are they out of school? Why are these children not attending schools? Don't you think it is because their parents cannot afford education for them?
Mm.
Or maybe their environment, the environment they stay in, like I saw some pictures here. Like you said, they'll come in the evenings, carrying
begging for
plates,
food.
begging for food. And I see one picture here. I see there's small kids lining up. Don't you think it's about the economic situation of the country? And it has been on for a long time.
Correct. You are right. Well, we're looking at why children are out of schools. There are a lot of factors that can contribute to that. And it ranges from individuals. One, the environment. The environment is key. Children can be out of school based on the environment. Looking at the environment, do we have conducive environment for learning in schools? Two is the cost implication of education. Do we have resources enough? Do the parents have resources enough to sponsor these children in the school? Then another one, which is the hallmark of it, I always believe in something, that when there is a way, there is a will. Are these children and their parents passionate about education? So looking at these three factors, then we will now faction it. Why are they out of schools? At times, the government may provide facilities. The parent may not be willing to send their children. The parent may be willing, and the government providing the facility. The children will be absconded from school. Truancy, practicing truancy, it happens. So all these factors we need to consider. Then we can now come with an holistic resolution of why the children were out of school. Thank you.
Yes, Doctor. Apart from what you said now, they are talking about adult education now. There was what was called a kwagba then in the past. Yes, old people, adults. You know, there's some centers will be created for them. just to educate them, to let them, be able to read and write and speak some, little, maybe English or so. What happened to that system?
Thank you. Before I go to that, let me tell you where the problem is. The problem is that Nigeria has a universal basic education commission.
Yes.
That makes it compulsory for every Nigerian to be in school for 9 years. It's compulsory. So it's and when our politicians come around, what do they tell us? What is the slogan? Free education. So it's much more than that. Because it is in the interests of the political class that Nigerians are uneducated and we have this high level of illiteracy in Nigeria. And that is the way I want us, and there are efforts. So I will blame the government and the fact that the agencies of government are not doing their work the way they should. I have already written down some things. I did my research and I found out that the solution, what that Dr. Olatunji Alausa said, was that government agencies, especially the NEC, should be able in 2 years to tackle the problem of illiteracy. But there is an agenda. There have been agenda. 1948 Universal Declaration of Human Rights says that it's the right of every human being to be educated. And you also know that we had the Millennium Development Goals that was from year 2000 to 2015.
Yes.
And Millennium Development Goal, the Goal 2, says that universal primary education must be free and compulsory. And we presently have Sustainable Development Goal, Goal 4, that says that there must be inclusive, equitable, and learning opportunities for all.
Is it happening?
Exactly. So it wouldn't have been a problem if we don't have this agenda and these government agencies who are supposed to pursue it. So I wouldn't blame it's government. You don't know the powers that government have. If government says today, let's give an example of our community, that no child during school should be out, all parents will ensure that their children are not there, even if they are learning for 3 or 4 hours in the day. So I think, because what education does for the society is beyond the individual benefit of employability.
Of course, yes.
And you mentioned the northeastern part of Nigeria. And you will know the siege, because the title is Education Under Siege. The siege was this religious siege that was captured Boko Haram. That Western education is forbidden.
Yes.
So that is the siege. It is, which is, when we looked at it very well, we found out that it's not even a religious slogan. Because the religion also says that you must look for knowledge everywhere that it can be found. So that is the contradiction we have. So now to your question, there are people, you call them Ekwagba. I laughed because this is what I help my students to understand, that adult education is not translated as Ekwagba. I have told you there are 4 categories of illiteracy.
But that was what it was called then.
It is still called that. But you know, at every discipline has its professionals and has its practitioners. Those who don't know what adult education is are the ones who call it Ekwagba. And you see it advertised everywhere, Ekwagba. But Ekwagba they are talking about could be learning of French. I am an illiterate when it comes to French. I don't speak much of French. There are people who are professors who don't know how to use computer.
Yes.
So every one of us, that's why we are careful not to use that word illiterate. There is illiteracy, but there are no illiterates. Because every human being suffers from one form of illiteracy
yes,
or the other.
That is what we call intellectual illiterate.
we call them non-literates. Non-literates are those who have not acquired maybe the skills. Then we also have other levels, people who cannot perform in the organization they are in. Like if you ask me to come and hack on this program now, I may mess up because I'm not used to it. So in a management of stage, I have some form of illiteracy. So, and when you start in Alert class and the Kwagba, the headmasters who beat them out of school, they are the ones that said, and that's why I usually advocate that people who are trained in andragogy, that's the word, we don't teach, we help adults and youth to learn. And it can be a very comfortable place like this, your studio, that has all the comfort, well furnished. Not that you take them to primary school where they cannot sit on the desk of children. Already you are debasing them. It's an humiliation. And that is the problem. Because we drive them, you make jest of them, you laugh at them. You say their English is not good. But there are other things they know which you have not acknowledged. So it's professional. It's just like if somebody goes to a pharmacist and say, I have a headache, I have this and all of that. And they say you have to, first of all, be sure. Let's go for diagnosis. So there are professionals, there are people who are trained to do this, to handle this category of people who are neglected and marginalized in Nigeria. And they are the ones that the minister is talking about that we need to bring them on board.
Yes, Mr. Jabola, it has been contained inside that proposal, but yet that, I will still mention it, quality education generally now. The literacy levels remain far below global benchmarks. And in your assessment, where exactly is the disconnect between policy ambition and actual outcomes?
Thank you very much, the moderator. When we are talking about the goal 4, which is the quality education, then for the functioning of that goal, don't forget that in the policy formation, we make use of the institutions, the government agencies, the practitioners, the experts, adult literacy experts. Now, when we are talking of education, then we talk of the community to implement such a policy. Now, looking at these 4 stakeholders in the quality, to achieve quality education, the question is the government making provision to achieve quality education? If they are making provision in the formal education sector, just like the minister said that 4 more universities have been approved, this and that. But in the aspect of adult education, do we have approvals for adult literacy centers? Do we have facilities being deployed to the centers that are available? Like people like us running adult literacy center, do we have facilities in our study centers given by the government? Now, that is one aspect. Another thing is the institutions. We appreciate good work from the University of Ibadan. Training and retraining of experts is key. And they also have a center. Someone have told me about University of Ibadan Adult Literacy Center. She came to my own center and she said it's because of the distance, that's why she have to come to our own center. Great. Now, if the institution is performing, is the government making provision for that policy to be accomplished? Now, if that is settled, the individual that want to learn, majority, averagely, if you call these people, average of them, they will say, we are old enough, we don't need education again. That's their common sense. But when there is a crisis and there is need for education, they fall back and come back to the center and say, no, I've been ridiculed. I have to go and learn this. So the point is this. Government should make provision for resources, facilities, to make quality education feasible in our society. Talking about experts, making provision for experts, enough remunerations for experts, deploying facilities, supporting adult literacy centers to do their due diligence. I think 2025 or 2024 thereabout, some of the representatives of the NEMAC, they came from Abuja to my center to take data of what is needed in our center, including desks, machineries, and the likes. They were even asking if you have a study center of our own that we have, if we've erected a structure. But up to today, the data was collected, but we have not seen anything. So government should make provision for facilities. While individuals are ready, the institutions are ready to bring up their own experts to achieve quality education. And centers like us advocate for adult education. We are out there in numbers, making effort to make sure that we achieve quality education. So we are calling on the government to make provisions for facilities, support with resources, and training and retraining. Thank you.
Yes, Doctor, many analysts argue, yes, they argue that we are arguing now, that Nigeria's literacy challenge is no longer just about access to schooling, but about learning outcomes. How serious is the problem of children who attend school but still cannot read or write effectively?
I stated
yes, you did.
That's my introductory.
Yes, I wanted you to just delve further into that.
Yeah, thank you. The advocate has helped a lot. But you see, at times, what we are looking for, and we are going to Sokoto to look for, is inside our purse, inside our Sokoto. Government has provision, government has policies. But the problem is that this provision, people don't know, and they are not using it. It's an abnormality, my dear brother, that we have literacy centers who collect money from people who want to learn. As you have said, if government agencies cannot absorb those people, usually many people want to go to university, but public universities will not be able to take them because of space. So you have private universities. So it is exactly like that. So, but nobody would, many people would not be able to afford that access, to come and pay for it. But government policies already says, especially in our agencies, both at local government level, at state level, and federal level, facilities are available for them, but many a times they don't know. Now, to talk about people who are in school, I call them in school. We have in school, we have out of school. Those who are in school, that is why to support literacy, there are three issues. First is support of teachers, investment in teacher training or facilitators preparation, that we call it. And how do you do that? We don't give up in adult education. You don't write anybody off as not being able to learn. You keep using different styles to help that person to learn. And I like the word you use. It's not, we call it outcome, not academic achievement.
Not performance.
But performance. What are they coming to learn? I give you a typical example of adult learners that we have seen who will come to adult literacy centers to come and learn how to sign. Now, the principle is, before you can sign, you must do your signature. You should know how to write your name. So, how do you know how to write your name? I'm Olushola. In that word, Olushola, there are nothing less than 5 alphabets. So many a times we bother ourselves with teaching them alphabet, the 26 alphabet, A to Z, 26. But the adult learner may not be that patient. So in that case, because immediately they can do it, they can sign, you can see that they have achieved what they want to achieve, and they are off. Many a times we see it as attrition and we record it as failure. because they have not been streamed into the formal system. It's not a failure. And we have argued this several times. So we are looking here at people who maybe we have people who are helping them. I told you, people they are going to again are people who sent them out of school, who don't have the methodology and pedagogy of helping them to learn. So maybe they are in wrong hands. I want us to concentrate on those adults and youth, because the problems of public schools where you have a child who is in primary 5 but cannot read and write and cannot even count is another problem on its own.
Yes.
But these problems can be solved because I, by my training, am not allowed to say that those children or those adults cannot learn. I would rather reflect and say, what are the things I need to do to make them learn better? And I will go at their pace. You know, we also have physically challenged children that will take a longer time for them to learn. So we don't write them off. That is why I said it's a process. Learning is always a process. I'm still learning.
Yes.
I keep learning. There are a lot of things I don't know. I may decide now I want to learn French. In French language, I have an element of illiteracy, which is a cure, which may not, they have terminal disease, that you have to apply your drugs over and over again. So I don't, if they are, first of all, if they are in good hands, that is the first thing, training the facilitators and preparing them. The second way is to bridge the gap, the what we call the digital divide. And you can learn a lot from just only having an Android phone.
Yes.
You can be taught a lot of things. So helping them to have access to internet and use of their Android will also go a long way to help them. So there are ways we do all of this, but I don't want us to write them off that if they are already making that effort to learn, I think we should give kudos to them.
Yeah, yes, I know of one old woman like that in my area. We used to call her Iyeleko. Yeah, she did not go to school at all, but she is very brilliant in mathematics, calculation, especially. The calculation, me, as an educated person, cannot, and she uses her phone very well. So I'm just thinking, like, that category of people, yes, I think if they are introduced to, adult education, at least some tips about other sectors on adult education, I think she will pick up.
Yeah.
Well, yes, you talked about private, the federal government setting up, approving 4 private universities, 4 public universities, setting up public universities, but
no, that's right. The news item was the equivalent that they want the degree or the certification of medical doctors to be equivalent to PhD.
PhD, yes.
And they also say, private university, they said there is an embargo
on public for 6 years.
For 6 years.
For 6 years.
What they are setting up now is giving licenses to private universities, which is itself a problem. Because there is no trust again on public education. I think you want to ask me, I will allow you to speak.
Yeah. Well, you see, there is something we need to know, that public and private institutions, I think that's where the question is driving at. To me, I so much believe in public institutions. One, the fact that it belongs to the government. 2, the cost implication is minimal, is bearable for public universities, public institutions. Then the adoption of curriculums in the system, curriculums to be used, is readily available. Then there is something that I want to say, that in public institutions, you have key disciplines. Discipline is core and is key. there is no manipulation of any form. I'm not saying there are manipulations in private institutions. But on this note, I want to establish a fact that, as far as I'm concerned, that public institutions are more preparable to me, on my belief. Now, linking it up to adult education now. In my own center, in our center, it's free. The fact that we make effort by ourselves, making arrangement for the facilitators, securing the venue, is also free. So we make it free. But most time, the learners, we don't call them students, right? We call them the learners. Since it's free, they have a kind of free range. But we just have to instill discipline, which we don't lose in our centers. So as far as we are concerned, the education issue still remains the duty of the government. If we are going to be sincere with ourselves, education still remains the duty of the government to provide to individuals. Going back to the standard of UNESCO that says that government should make their budget at least from 20 to 26% of the budget should be appropriate to education. But what do we have now? We have less than 20.
Between 15.
Less than 10. Less than 15.
Between 15 and 20%.
Between 15 and 20%. But we have lesser, even less than 15%. So the government should gear up and face the truth about their responsibility to give quality education, engaging the institutions on ground, engaging the policymakers and experts in the area of education. Thank you.
I think it is still even below that 15%.
It's even below 15%.
Yes.
At times we have 6%, 7%, 8%.
Yes, can government declare a state of emergency on the education sector?
Yeah, thank you. Part of my recommendation, I call it a marching order. I said a marching order, because we have 2030 before us, so in 4 years' time, that we must have education for all, which means that basic skills would have been acquired. And there are countries who have achieved that, who have 100% literacy. Nigeria can also achieve it. And I would like to say that we have a lot of global efforts in this direction. I will not fail to mention the E9 countries of Bangladesh, Brazil, China, Egypt. Nigeria is one of those countries. And they said these 9 countries have half of the population of the world non-literates. So there should be a matching order. Government agencies should be made to work. That's it. Where state of emergency, who is the one administering the emergency situation? We have emergency centers in hospital. Immediately you get there, you are expected to see people who will be attending. So who are the ones who are attending to those who have such? So I call it a matching order. State government, local government chairman, the federal government of Nigeria should say these agencies that have already been established should ensure with their proposal. I'm sure what University of Ibadan is doing, and I'm happy that we have somebody here who just attested to the work that University of Ibadan Adult Education Department and that Center for Literacy Training and Development has been doing over the years. So why can't we harness the resources we have and deploy easy, that you just need the facilitators, not often, maybe once a while. There are people who have this knowledge, but we are not deploying them. That is what I think, sir.
Yes, many children, Mr. Ejebola, many children complete primary school. Yes, like you mentioned, I think doctor mentioned it, cannot read basic textbooks. And they've completed primary 5 or primary 6. And does this indicate a crisis of teacher training curriculum design or accountability?
Thank you very much. If a child completed primary school and still unable to read, there are a lot of factors. One, we can take it from the angle of the teacher, because in reading, there are techniques. You start with pronunciations, you talk of syllables, you talk of learning from the simple to the complex. So if a student or a pupil or a children cannot read at that level, we should boil it down to the teacher. That's one. Then two, the population of that learning age. The fact remains that we still have slow learners. But at that level, we should not categorize such a child as a slow learner, because reading skill should be developed from that age, from such age and such class, from age 0 to 5 and upward. At least before you can graduate from a primary school, should be around 10 and upward. Then the reading skill ought to have been developed. So we should look at the reading, the teacher's techniques, application of the techniques of the teacher. That's one. Then two, we should look at the cognitive domain of that child. Then every method should now be embraced. So blaming the teacher or saying it's the teacher's responsibility to ensure that the child read may not be totally correct. There are abilities of individuals that also need to be developed right from home, helping our children to read from home. So it's not basically the...
Well, I just want to say this. How can Nigeria, Doctor, better align education policy? Yes, it's education policy, the Nigerian government. How can it better align it with labor market realities? That is ensuring that literacy and education translate into meaningful economic opportunities.
Thank you, moderator. What people say generally is that Nigerian graduates are not employable. Some of Nigeria, I think it's okay, because you have found situations where Nigerians who finished university or who finished one form of education leave the country and they do very well. So it's the aligning, that is the aspect of adult education. The third level of illiteracy is those who are educated but who get to organizations and communities or places where they will need some form of knowledge or skill development to be able to function. It is not the universities that will do that. That is part of the work of adult education and part of the work of some private sectors. You will see we have training centers, you have learning hubs here and there that are coming up. Majorly, what the problem is that when people see the lack, because an adult should be able to identify the skill gap. I don't have this, I need this. In that instance, who will the person go to assist if the person cannot pay? So the university curriculum, definitely, it needs overhauling. It needs to be checked, to be adjusted. But much more than that, there are organizations and opportunity for people, to learn outside the school. Because it is not possible for school to completely get what industries are doing. It has to be schools, has to be theoretical. I disagree with this issue of turning university to technical schools, where you say they should go and learn entrepreneurship stuff
and vocational
stuff and all of those things. Universities are not meant for that. It is after when you are educated, education and being a graduate, we mean that you have basic skill that will allow you to be able to access other form of knowledge. So that is what we need to do. But the support, because I don't want to be blaming the government and say government should do this, government should do that. what else can we do? What support can we? Because we have organizations too who support their workers. And that is the beginning of adult education in Europe. Adult education in Europe was not that missionaries and the colonialists came and they said, come and be learning the ABC and D. No. It was people who were already educated, but when industrialization came, they now brought these people into the industry and they needed some form of knowledge that will make them able to do their function in organization, in their industry and their communities. That was what was called adult education. So when it's an transliteration for you to call it a kwagba. No, it's a wrong translation. Just like when you ask somebody, you want to greet somebody is already at home and you are coming from outside. English doesn't recognize that kind of greeting. The most you can say is good afternoon. You will not say die home, which is ekule, which is transliteration. So adult education to be called a kwagba is transliteration. But the need for adult education is that you will find out that you need training and retraining for you to measure up. And that is why you need some form of knowledge, advancement all the time. And organizations should help. And professional bodies also help. Apart from what individuals can do for themselves, which I call self-directed learning.
Yes, Dr. Jabola. Well, now,
I'm not doctor yet.
well,
You'll be doctor.
Maybe you're about to be a doctor.
All right, thank you.
Now, well, yes, the Nigerian population is projected to, be, to exceed 400 million. That is what they always say. We said we're about 200 million or billion people, also 400 million by 2050. And if current literacy trends continues, what could be the long-term social and economic consequences for the country?
Thank you very much. You see, continue. It won't be of a benefit to the country. I have to be sincere with you, sir, that the economic development of a nation is embedded, or let me say is proportionate to the level of education. So the all end must be on desk to make sure that we make education a priority in Nigeria. To ensure that quality education is insist so that we can have education in both ends, even to the grassroots. I was talking to, reading the function, and so education, we should not continue in this trend in Nigeria if truly we want to achieve growth and development. There is no
that education is key and they should pay more attention to education in Nigeria. State government, local government, yes, as it was then in the past. Now, finally, we don't have much time now. Doctor, yes, this question I want to ask here, talking about, beyond government intervention, like I said, how can parents and communities be mobilized, to take greater ownership of literacy and education outcomes?
Yeah,
just briefly.
Briefly, the truth of it is that there is a trend. It's a word that education is a scam and all of that. And I laugh at it. The first beneficiary of education is the person who is educated. So if you say education is a scam, it means that person is a failure. The person that has called himself, I won't call anybody a failure as an adult educator. It is not the buying of clothes. If I have 100,000 naira and my children know that out of the 100,000 naira, 80,000 will go to education, like our parents.